And all the times that you contact both parties, how often will they say, okay, we're going to send this to conciliation?
I'd say 99% of the time.
So you can avoid ETs in that?
The figures are for open track cases, which are discrimination. I think it was 84% of claims.
That you've avoided going to ETs?
Yes. For standard cases, the clearance rate, our target rate is 75%, but I think it was 83% last year. Now, there could be many factors for that.
That's 83% of all cases that are going through to ETs that you're helping avoid.
Yes. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to stand here and say, yeah, it's all because of Acas. Now, we've helped resolve there's many factors that people don't want to take to tribunal. They don't want the stress, the time, the expenditure of the whole thing. But often, when we are involved, there is a successful resolution. Even if it's alleviating that stress, we can cover the practicalities of it later. Is everyone okay with that so far? I'll briefly go through this because it's not so much what you're concentrating on or this course, but collective conciliation, as it said before and I mentioned before, we help in high-profile disputes, also low-profile disputes with companies and employees to agree the settlements. Now, 105 requests were received in 2009-10. The figures aren't updated as much. I know there was a dip last year in the amount of requests, but it's only increased again this year. And we're usually involved in the vast majority of the high-profile cases, be the Milford Haven dispute, ones with the Arriva trains in Cardiff, and even we've been asked to get involved in the Olympics committee as well.
How many people work for Acas?
It's not that many. I think, let me see, it's about 900.
At all?
Throughout the
Doing
country.
all this?
North Wales is North Wales is 4 of us.
Is that when we close the Wrexham office?
It's not closed. We're moving.
Well, it's been closed for a while.
No, it's open. It may seem that way that it's closed, but no, we're open. It's right next door to Wrexham Hospital.
Well, the information we've given where I think it's here, that it's closed. So
I apologise.
No. So it's still up, but can people come in by appointment?
You can come in by appointment. You can give us a ring. I'll leave you my card, and you can contact us at any time. Yeah. We are moving next month. We're getting even smaller. Not the amount of personnel. The room we're moving to a small room, but there is a conference facility within the building as well, so we can arrange appointments. Yes.
Yeah. Could the confusion be that your calls, last time I heard that your calls were not going through the Wrexham number anymore?
All helpline calls go through our helpline number within Cardiff.
Because you used to be able to phone them.
Yeah, and you still can, but, and I'll probably put myself down here, but the vast majority of technical queries are best answered by our helpline. They're the ones most up to date. They know the most up to date. And they're also getting more and more of the calls straight away, so they can give you the practicalities. When it comes to us, it's more of collective disputes or conciliation, pre-claim conciliation as well. You can phone us for pre-claim. I'll give you my card up later on. Individual conciliation then. Most claims have more than one jurisdiction. You find in the past it used to be just one, unfair dismissal or something. Now there tends to be more and more. Unfair dismissal, wages, breach of contract, discrimination, and so on. The tribunal, I'm sure you may already or may not be aware of, can actually strike out part of the claim. For instance, in discrimination, people may have also claimed unfair dismissal. They haven't got a year's service and they haven't got a part of it, then they can strike out unfair dismissal elements. You can also add jurisdictions as well, even after you've lodged a claim. But beware, it's time constrained. So the 3-month rule and so on that may come into effect. So if you are adding jurisdictions, or you think, well, actually, I think this has cropped up now, be aware you've got your time limits as well to get them accepted. The benefits, for those who can't see it, it's voluntary. That's part of the benefits that we sell to people. Why use Acas? You're not committing yourself to anything on both sides. You can even arrange withdrawals. A lot of the time, people get to that point where they say, well, actually, I want to pull out of this, but I don't know how. Or they're worried about cost issues.
Can you start an Acas procedure without cancelling your employment tribunal one? Not be happy with the Acas and go back to the tribunal, and if so, are you going to be limited with your time limits?
I'm sorry, so
I mean, can you dance in both weddings? That's what I'm asking.
Yes, and in fact we run side by side. We
Okay.
run in the background.
What's the time limits then? What's
We're
happening
right
with
up to the day.
I mean,
Judges don't like it, but we can be involved
yeah.
right up to the steps. I've known one, in fact, even if a case is part heard or adjourned, and the parties decide one way or the other, actually, this is looking a bit dodgy for us, they phone us up and say, okay, we will resolve it now. And we can, right up to the judgment time. Often, you know,
If it's resolved through Acas, is it binding?
yes, it's legally binding. It has the same legal enforcement as if you had a tribunal decision. And there is a quick, fast-track enforcement process now as well for parties where they don't comply with the agreement. So again, it's one of the benefits we sell is you're not waiting for the 3 months down the line, a year down the line for some discrimination cases. I've got a case there at the moment that's 2.5 years without even being heard yet. We can sell it by saying, look, you've got a decision, you've got a binding agreement straight away. Means fewer tribunal hearings, so less taxpayer expense. Lower cost to the parties as well, especially for employers. Often an employer will make a commercial settlement based on the practicalities. It's going to cost us X amount of money, irrespective if they believe they've got a good defence or not.
What's this not publicised?
Publicised. That's another factor. Trying to tell people, though, that's one of the things that you're going to have to concentrate on realities as advisors. Everybody believes their case is a high-profile case. It's going to be in the papers and so on. It's not. It's only the ones like Met Police or sex discrimination cases or something juicy that is always advertised as big, large-scale awards. Getting people to realise the practicalities. Yes, a tribunal is public domain. However, it may not be too concerning for the employer. So it's getting them to realise they don't. But it's something else. Yeah.
That's because bad news is sales and good news is no news. There you go.
Ultimately, it is less stressful. The amount of time, and this goes for employers and employees, is they get stressed. And if they've got the best case in the world, they do find it a stressful situation. So, benefits of individual conciliation. We okay with that? Coming on to individual conciliation, and I will give you a handout on this as well. We do have pre-claim conciliation. It's the same type of process, although it is more informal than lodging a claim. So often is there to maintain that existing employment relationship, rather than going down the litigation route. Okay. So it is more informal. So it tends not to bring up as many barriers. It's quicker than lodging a claim. We need to get these things resolved early. The vast majority of pre-claim conciliation is dealt with within 3 or 4 weeks, rather than the months it can spend on tribunal claims. And it's cheaper to the parties, especially to the taxpayer, because the probably biggest expense is the lodging of a claim. Taxpayers. So it tries to avoid that, but it's cheaper to the parties. You're not getting in solicitors, you're not having the time and expense of having to defend cases, and so on. So there are benefits to everyone.
Do you need to prepare, especially like in employment tribunal, burden of proofs and things like that? Do you need to do that?
No, because it's not there to decide on the
So how
case.
do you prepare yourself to
Well,
reclaim concession if you want to
yeah.
succeed?
It's raising the issue, and it's just like conciliation. We hear sound bites of information when we're conciliators. But basically, a person lodges or phones our helpline, and they have to meet certain criteria to actually establish a pre-claim conciliation is that they're eligible. I'll give you a handout for everybody in a moment. But they've got to be an employee or a worker. Self-employed doesn't count, unfortunately. It's employment tribunal claims. It can be potential discrimination if they're applying for a claim, just like applying for a job, just like a tribunal. And they've got to have sufficient service.
There is a carbon compensation?
Pardon?
Will there be a carbon compensation?
It can be. No.
No. So
No. It's exploring anything that can resolve the issue beforehand. The usual nature of a pre-claim conciliation, I'll tell you, is things like holiday disputes, wages disputes. You can use any jurisdiction that the tribunal will look at, and we have, we're able to conciliate on. But vast majority, the two I've dealt with prior to coming here today, one was I requested holidays and they're not giving me. Okay? So you can raise that with the employer on their behalf. You can go through, actually it's a statutory requirement to pay people holidays. You can go through that process with them. Okay. And it's got to be, there's nothing to prevent conciliation from succeeding. Things like insolvent companies. It's pointless going through pre-claim conciliation because if you come to a judgment, they may not be able to pay. What we do is we contact the claimant and the employer to see if it can be resolved. It's always the claimant first because they're the ones, although if employers have a particular query, and I'd say it accounts for about less than 1% of cases, we can then contact the claimant with their particular query. But the vast majority are employees.
And these aren't as a result of raising the
No, this is a separate, completely
And
separate.
generally with the telephone.
Yes. If they actually lodge a claim, then there's no pre-claim conciliation. That's what it says on the tin, basically. It's there to avoid.
Somebody's in, we've got a client in, talking through an unfair dismissal case, for example.
Yes.
And we're talking about going through an ET1. We could suggest that they phone Acas and go through try pre-claim conciliation.
Yes. Yes. And what we do is we look at all the factors, things like time limits. Say for 3 months, we usually like to give ourselves at least 2 weeks